Can you believe it? This channel just topped over 1,000 subscribers. I didn't even expect to get one. So to all of you, every single one of you that has liked a video, commented on a video, from my first subscriber to my 1085th subscriber, what I'm up to now, thank you. And to celebrate, oh boy, you lot better strap in, because I've got a real treat for you. I haven't just got one video, I've got 5. And they are going to come out over the course of the next couple of weeks. Now, I've already covered lots of Gerry Anderson stuff on this channel, and it's not without good reason, because Gerry Anderson shows, well, they're perfect. And the greatest programme ever made by Gerry Anderson, possibly the greatest children's television programme of all time, was Thunderbirds. Although Mrs. Sci-Fi might disagree with me here. Now, the stars of the show are obviously the Tracy brothers, but we know the real stars of the show are those fabulous Thunderbird machines. So this is the first out of 5 videos going on a deep dive for every one of the Thunderbird machines. And as this series is 5 episodes long, naturally, I'm going to start with Thunderbird 5. So a little bit of background here. International Rescue is the fictional organisation from the TV series Thunderbirds. It was set up by billionaire industrialist Jeff Tracy, and its aim is to rescue people. If there's no hope of a conventional rescue and your life is in jeopardy, International Rescue will be summoned and they will save you. It also veers off into other genres as well. I mean, there's an episode dealing with an alien threat. There's a hidden alien base in the Sahara Desert, for instance. Or it will segue into being a complete 60s spy thriller, thanks to the exploits of Lady Penelope and her sidekick and safecracker extraordinaire Parker. In the show, there's 5 different Thunderbird machines, and they all carry out different duties, with Thunderbird 1 being sleek, first and fast, according to Jeff Tracy. It's a variable geometry rocket plane that's capable of reaching anywhere on Earth within an hour. It'll be followed by Thunderbird 2. Now, Thunderbird 2 is everybody's favourite. It is the big heavy transporter which carries just a mind-boggling variety of different rescue equipment. Thunderbird 3, it's a rocket, it's for space rescues, and it looks fantastic. Thunderbird 4, the smallest of the Thunderbird craft, normally carried by Thunderbird 2, although on one occasion carried by the Sentinel. This is the submarine of the Thunderbird fleet. It's equipped for underwater rescues. And finally, we have Thunderbird 5. So Thunderbird 5 was the last of the Thunderbird machines to be completed. Although I think it was the first one actually designed by Derek Meddings. I can't be 100% about that. So in universe, the story goes like this. Jeff Tracy knows he needs a communication satellite for international rescue. So on the down low, he sort of snidely asked the government for 4 satellites. He's like, I need a series of weather satellites for my space company. And with Jeff Tracy being the richest man in the world and having a lot of clout in the space industry, because that's what his company does, permission was pretty rapidly granted. So Thunderbird 5 was constructed initially by just normal commercial astronauts, and they construct the first half of it. But after that, well, Thunderbird 3 was ready at this point. So the Tracy brothers took over, and from there, all the real Gucci spy satellite stuff is installed. Thunderbird 5 is in a geosynchronous orbit at an altitude of 22,400 miles above the Pacific Ocean, in fact. And a lot of people say it's actually directly over Tracy Island. And this is evidenced in later materials as well, because we hear of brains sort of thinking about constructing a space elevator to it. It requires servicing once a month, and what happens is Thunderbird 3 docks with it, it replenishes its supplies, it recharges its batteries, and the crew will swap. Now, most often we see John Tracy manning the space station, but it is a once a month cycle between him and Alan, and sometimes we'll see additional crew up there as well. Brains, for instance, he's often spotted in the space station. But for all this, it only requires a crew of 1. Everything else on the station is completely automated. It's 120 metres long with a diameter of 90 metres, and it's 83 metres tall. It's equipped with a secret and very powerful radar cloaking system, and it's also got a very strong meteor deflector, and its electrical power is supplied by a series of atomic batteries. So Thunderbird 5's job is simple. It's just got to listen. That's all it does, all day and all night. It listens. As I said, it's equipped with all that Gucci spy satellite stuff, so it can listen to any frequency from anywhere in the world. But it's basically a gigantic receiver connected to a bank of computers, and those computers are programmed to hear 3 words: calling international rescue. It is also listening for other emergencies around the world. They can sort of preempt an emergency sometimes and already be on the way before they're summoned. But if you want international rescue, you radio those 3 words and you'll be put straight through to them. So most of the time we see Thunderbird 5 being crewed by John, the middle brother of the Tracy family. And John is the quietest of the Tracy brothers. He's the most bookish. He, in the universe, has written several popular astronomy books. And given the fact that Thunderbird 5 is in a geostationary orbit and is equipped with a rather large telescope, to him this is just a bonus. He apparently used this telescope to discover the famous Tracy quasar. He was born on the 28th of October 2041 and is named after John Glenn. He is a Harvard University graduate. He's got a degree in advanced telecommunications. He was also the first Tracy brother to qualify as an astronaut. He's easily the most intelligent of the Tracy brothers and definitely the most patient, which makes his role on the space station suit him even more. He doesn't have the same muscular build as the rest of the Tracy brothers, but he is still athletic nonetheless. And although apparently he's been on dozens of missions before, we only ever see him off of the space station in the episode Danger at Ocean Deep. Behind the scenes though, John was the first marionette actually made for the show, and he was supposed to look like a cross between Adam Faith and Charlton Heston. But unfortunately, Gerry Anderson just wasn't happy with it. So rather than being the pilot of Thunderbird 1, the marionette was renamed as John Tracy and banished to the space station, while they moved on to create the proper Scott Tracy puppet, which was based on Sean Connery. But it wasn't just the looks that he weren't pleased with. He hated the character as well. So yes, he was banished to the space station, but he was also just left there to rot. He was voiced by Ray Barrett, and at that point he was a long-time collaborator with Gerry Anderson as well. So he got to voice a lot of other characters in the show. Now I'm fully aware that Thunderbird 5 is never going to top anybody's favourites list, but I can attempt to rehabilitate it a little bit. So it was designed by Derek Meddings, and I'm not going to dwell too much on that in this video because, you know, I've got 4 more after this one to do, and I want to touch upon him later on. So Thunderbird 5 is the first Thunderbird we see in the series, and it does a really good job of setting the tone. It does this with some really clever design, because if you look at the rest of the Thunderbirds fleet, they're all very dynamic looking, and they're very bright and they're very bold. Thunderbird 1, for instance, with its variable geometry wings, or Thunderbird 2 with its interchangeable pods, Thunderbird 3 with its bright red colour, and Thunderbird 4 with its bank of gadgets at the front of it. Thunderbird 5 cannot rely on any of that, but when you look at it long enough, it is a very dynamic design. It may seem stationary, but it's actually the second fastest vehicle in the Thunderbird's fleet because it's up there at orbital velocities. So cleverly they use this ring motif around it to evoke movement, and when viewed from above, if you look down on it, it kind of looks a little bit similar to the International Rescue logo, that helping hand motif they've got crossing planet Earth. As well as the looks, there's the colour palette. It's got a real atomic age look to it. Now in the mid-60s, everything had gone a little bit psychedelic at this point. I mean, the ultimate expression of this for Gerry Anderson was definitely Captain Scarlet. And for the first series at least, Thunderbird 5 has this really nice palette to it. It's got this really, really cool reds and greys and greens, and it just works together perfectly. And this isn't without reason, because Thunderbird 5 was heavily influenced by those early space station designs by Wernher von Braun. This was something that could have landed really flat. It could have been the most tedious and boring thing in Thunderbirds, and it wasn't. But yes, I know I mentioned it's got that sort of ring motif to it that gives it a little bit of dynamism. It can't dine out on that It needed something. So it's for this reason, and the fact that it's not got a really cool launch sequence we can geek out on every week, that Gerry Anderson gave it its own theme music. Yes, Thunderbird 5 is not just the first Thunderbird we see, but it's the only one with its own individual theme music. And it's actually a really cool bit of music. Before I move any further, if you're enjoying this, please hit the like and subscribe button. But nonetheless, Thunderbird 5 is as important as the other 4 machines. And this is why it's given the Thunderbird name. I mean, if it wasn't important, it'd just be Thunderbirds 1 to 4, and Thunderbird 5 will just be the Space Monitor. But since International Rescue can't conduct any rescues without it, it's a Thunderbird, whether we like it or not. So for that reason alone, it is instantly cool. It's worth noting as well that Jeff Tracy never actually looks more tense than he does in the episode Attack of the Alligators, because for the first part of that episode, they're out of contact with Thunderbird 5. Now, I've never seen a puppet look anxious before, but Jeff Tracy looked anxious in this episode because he knows without it, International Rescue, well, they're out of business. This just further demonstrates the importance of this space station to International Rescue. Also, one of the questions you need to ask yourself is, when you think Thunderbird 5 ain't cool, is, well, when you opened up your set of Matchbox Thunderbird toys on Christmas morning when you was a kid, and you realised that Dad neglected to issue a Thunderbird 5, was you disappointed? No, I certainly was. It's actually taken me to my mid-30s to find anybody who's got a really good model of it. And if we was doing a top list of greatest space stations, it'd be Thunderbird 5, Mir, and then the rest. But for me, the real thing about Thunderbird 5, what makes it great, well, it's this. Now, I've said this before about Gerry Anderson stuff, particularly Thunderbirds. And the question you ask is, well, who's it for? Well, it's a children's programme. It's a children's programme that the adults in the room can enjoy. And I certainly enjoy it, but it is a children's programme. And for everything that goes on in Thunderbirds, from its spy thriller episodes to alien invasions to the hood up to whatever shenanigans is up to bridges collapsing, to rockets exploding, everything. There is one crucial message that comes from it, one strand that runs through it all, and it's communication. Often, whatever goes wrong in Thunderbirds, whatever starts off the accident or whatever, is through lack of communication, somebody not listening to somebody, because somebody is always there to sound a warning before the accident happens. And what do International Rescue do when they arrive? Well, the first thing they do with every rescue is they communicate. They talk to each other, they talk it over, they work it out with their words. The whole family sits around and they discuss how they're going to do this, and they work together to achieve it. And it's Thunderbird 5 that enables that, because no matter where the Tracy brothers are in the world, no matter where you are in the world, you can always call International Rescue and be heard. But that is one of the key takeaways from it. It's the moral of the story, is that if you speak loud enough, you'll be listened to. And if you're not listened to, that's when the problems start. And the only way we're going to fix the problem is if we all listen to each other. And that is a fantastic message for children. It is as fantastic as it is important for them. And Thunderbird 5 is the physical embodiment of that message in that show. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Thunderbird 5. But I want to hear yours. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about it. Because as I've said before, the Gerry Anderson fandom's great. You're so full of knowledge and you're so full of enthusiasm for this stuff. Thanks for watching. Again, like I said, leave a comment, hit the like button, and if you really want, subscribe.